You just unlocked the darkness of this whole situation.
It's horrible.
You just did it.
It's
oh my
horrible.
gosh.
She doesn't want Painted Alicia there.
Oh my gosh. Because that ruins her
Painted
connection
Alicia
to Verso.
is the actual sister.
Holy crap. I think you're right, dude.
And that's why she
Oh my
was so willing to just get rid of her.
Oh,
Because she doesn't want her there.
I finally, that is crazy.
She's replacing her for Painted Verso.
Because she's trying to create her own little paradise, her own little utopia.
100%. We're back, finally, after a couple of months to end our ongoing discussion on Expedition 33. We have finally completed all of the Act 3 content. So that means all spoilers are off the table now. We're going to talk about everything. So if you have not finished Expedition 33, if you have not done the majority or all of the Act 3 content and you want to do that before hearing about it, you need to go do that. So go play the game, finish it, do everything you want to do, then come back. We are joined once again by Keith Comito, a frequent guest on the show, primarily because there is so much in this game that touches on the subjects that we've been having our ongoing discussion with Keith about in terms of life extension, terror management, things of that
terror
nature.
Management theory is good.
So he's here to return and talk about some of that stuff and how it applies to Expedition 33. Keith, you want to take a moment to reintroduce yourself to people who don't know you and why you are the right person to be having this conversation?
Sure, and thank you so much for having me on again. This is honestly one of my favorite things to do, is to have these kind of conversations. As Mike alluded to, I run a charity called the Lifespan Research Institute, which is focused on aging-related research that can that can work to extend healthy human lifespan, and we do research and advocacy and all that kind of stuff. But one of the aspects of that is having conversations with people, both at all levels, investors, policymakers, people on the internet, video gamers, right? So, and this game, for various reasons that we'll get into, is just so relevant, and I'm really excited to dive into it.
Yeah, me too. We have been planning on speaking with you since we started this thing. I mean, going back like 4 or 5 months ago at this point, and so it's finally time to get for come full circle and finally have the conversation we've been meaning to have since the start. Couple of things that I want to precurse this conversation with. When we originally played the game to review it, we had advanced copies of the game. So we played it before the general public did, and kind of formulated our opinions, and even had an episode, I think, a podcast episode on our thoughts on the ending and some of the themes and things like that, before a larger conversation began to take hold on the ending of this game and some more contentious and controversial aspects of it, which I did not anticipate back when we talked about it before. So I think we've touched on this a little bit, and the fact that, we were going to kind of be, I think in the episode 0 of this series we're doing now, hey, we're more aware of this now.
Yes.
So we're going to get into all of that. But I think it's really important to start from the beginning by saying, I think most people I've seen talking about this game and its ending get it completely wrong.
I agree. I agree a lot. We're going to talk about the general... We're going to talk about the game, the way it's presented and the way that people have taken it so far. And really kind of towards the end, we are going to tell you what the game's really about. And stay tuned for that. I think you'll enjoy it.
They return from fighting the Paintress. Everybody gamages and dies.
Yeah, they're all gone.
You see that scene where Verso's holding the letter from Painted Alicia that he never gave to Mael, that Alicia wanted him to give to Mael.
But also she kind of left it up to him in an ambiguous way. Like, hey, I took the time to write this, but it's up to you, I guess, to give it to her. He did not give it to her.
And then everybody starts gamaging, and then we go into this kind of like epilogue thing, which is actually a flashback 16 years before.
Yeah.
To the fire at the family mansion. You're playing as Mael, who is burned and deformed, and she meets up with Clea, her sister, who sort of fills you in on the nature of the world. We talked about all that. And then she goes into the painting, and it's revealed that Mael was born as a baby rather than coming in with her memories of her real life and everything like that.
And it was very interesting because there's a portion in the game, in one of the campsites, I think, where she mentioned that, her mother never really wanted her, and her parents died pretty soon after she showed up, and she was an accident or something like that. She didn't know how she had come into this world because she had bounced between too many different families and made the assumption that my mother didn't really care that much about me to begin with. We see the moment that she's born, and that is not the case.
Yes.
Her mother is very happy to have brought Mael into the world despite the fact that she is going to die. And she does, I think,
like the following,
like the day or something.
The following year. Or
she doesn't get to spend hardly any time with Mael, and they know it. But she is brought into a loving family initially, and she is born as a baby into this. This is very important to note that she is, the way that she comes into this world is very important to know. For something we're going to talk about later.
Yeah. So it shows, she was born, she lost her memories of her life outside of the painting. She grew up as one of the painted people.
Yes.
That's when we encounter her at the beginning of the game. She's 16. Now she's sort of a foster child of Gustav and his sister. And then the game happens. And so then once that's revealed, then we fast forward back to the present moment after this gamage has happened. And Mael, Alicia, is sitting there, and painted Verso is with her, and they have a short conversation.
Yeah.
Where, he's obviously, we can just jump in, I think, at that point.
Back to Lumiere?
So back to Lumiere. So he calls her Alicia, which is her name outside of the painting.
Yes.
And she says, actually, I prefer Mael.
Yeah, which is very interesting.
And then he says, I think I do too. But I'm not really Verso, and you're not really Mael, are you? You're not Verso, no, because, again, he's the painted version that Alina created as part of the painted family when she lives in this painted world to be with.
Yeah.
The real Verso died in the fire.
Yep.
You look and sound just like him, but you're you. I'm still Mael, though.
Yep.
You should have helped me remember.
And this is like, you should have given me the letter, is basically what she's saying.
Yes.
Because the letter had in it what was going to happen should she get rid of the paintress, right? And she's kind of chastising Verso here.
He says, yeah, I wanted to, but I'm sorry. She says, I'm sorry too. If I'd listened to Maman, if I hadn't trusted the writers, Verso would still be alive. And you, and Verso says, wouldn't exist. So
interesting thing to apologize for.
Yeah. Had she not, whatever happened outside, they're very vague about this. They don't really reveal what happened.
They don't, but it's writers versus painters.
Writers versus painters in some kind of war.
Yeah.
Mael trusted them and did something that allowed them onto the property or something where they started this fire.
My theory is Harry Potter 2 Chamber of Secrets. She found a diary and she started writing in it. So Mael's a writer. Yes.
That's
what she wants to
write.
do.
I pointed
her
this out
preferred vocation
earlier in the playthrough. There's a scene between her and Verso where she likes to write poetry.
Yeah.
And she's sort of reciting it, and she and Verso kind of go back and forth and tease each other about this.
And he likes to write too, though he is maybe more music oriented. But it's interesting that they were born into a family of painters, but they have an affinity for writing.
Something else.
Right. And and if you can imagine how in a magical world, how the writers were able to get in to the painters, infiltrate, it might just be through Mael's love of writing.
Sure. Another really interesting thing is in the epilogue, when you're in the mansion, there's one of the walls in sort of that long dining room where like, the big table is.
That's I just can't believe how long that table is.
No, it's huge.
Wild.
But there's a wall in there near the fireplace where they have paintings from each family member on the wall.
Right.
And they all kind
That's
of depict a different thing. And Mael's is the smallest by far and like the most crude. And she, when you interact with it, she says something like, "This is the only one that Maman like deemed worthy of the wall." So she's clearly not as talented, or maybe we can assume as interested in painting as the rest of the family. Yet she still has powers as a paintress, as we're going to find out here in a minute.
That's right. I also want to bring up another thing. Writing is akin to the word logos.
That's true.
Painting is different. There would be other words. You could even say what animus or something like that, but it could even be something along the lines of mythos as well.
Mythos.
Of mythos. And I learned that too. This is afterwards. I've been reading Greek stuff lately, and I'm like, oh, the Y is spelled, this is how you pronounce a Y. This is Old English, this is Swedish, this is ancient Greek as well. You say the E sound, but you make your lips into the shape of the U sound. So it's E. Mythos. That's how you do it.
That's why they pronounce it.
That's why they do it. But anyways, the idea that Mael, as the daughter of Alina, is more identifying with the logos. This is something we're going to talk about again soon.
Yes.
But we haven't painted the whole picture yet.
So anyway, she says, she apologizes. "I'm sorry too. If I just listened to Mon and hadn't trusted the writers, Verso would still be alive. And you," Verso interrupts and says, "wouldn't exist." What she says, "wouldn't be caught in the middle." Mon did a terrible thing, painting you into Verso's canvas.
Think about that sentence.
Yeah.
She did a terrible thing creating you.
Yes.
Very
She did a terrible thing, painting you into Verso's canvas, giving you his memories, pretending the fire only took me, but I'm glad you exist.
Now, this brings up another thing. If you have Verso's memories, in what way are you not Verso?
Exactly.
There's a few ways you can take this. You can say, well, maybe Alina's interpretation of Verso's memories, they weren't like Verso didn't painted Verso. Alina did. Maybe she forgot some things. Maybe she left things out. But the idea that you can have someone's memories but not be them, despite all other circumstances seeming to point in that direction, implies that there's a hidden something else that is involved in making a person. That isn't just the memories, and it's also not just your physical appearance. It's not just any one thing. There's something else in this world. It's like the Chroma, or there's like a magical kind of like aspect that gives people life, and it's like my essence is not the essence of Verso. Verso is basically what is being said. Though I do have his memories, and that is interesting. Now, the memories also taken from the canvas that Verso painted, so maybe it's not just Alina's interpretation. It also may be an early version of Verso's memories as well, that Alina, in her masterful way, can kind of capture into a person. But it's not actually Verso.
So I want to say something real quick, and then I want to ask Keith a question regarding this very thing. It seems to be purposeful that the writers of this story do not completely fill out the rules of how things like this work.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It's so. This is why the very intense and like, I don't know, almost like totally solidified moralizing people do on the game story and the choices at the end.
When these things are left intentionally vague.
really struggle because nobody actually understands the rules of how this works because they don't answer it in the game.
In my research, it became quite frustrating.
It's super frustrating.
There are so many hints, but it's like, but nothing definitive.
So,
which is fine. I actually appreciate it. I don't want everything delineated perfectly.
That is why it's meant to be open-ended as to what is they're not I think and we're going to touch on this whether we think they were successful at this.
Yeah.
But I'm just speaking on what I believe they were going for.
Right.
I think they wanted the player, despite what they chose, to feel like there's an avenue or argument to be made that this choice is justified.
Sure.
Now, based on online conversations, people hurling back
It
and forth
isn't
at each other.
justified.
That
Yeah.
side's completely unjustified because of this.
Yeah.
But there's so much about how the painted world operates and the rules behind all of it that would have to be definitively answered, I think, before you could start making those like, okay, this is morally correct or not.
Right.
That being said, it seems to me, and we're going to operate on this assumption, the painted people are sentient beings.
Yeah, there's another thing later on where that is kind of pointed out more or less directly. Like these are ensouled beings. These are living people.
They are not just really advanced video game NPCs that give
Despite what they look like.
giving the illusion that they're real people when they're really not.
Yeah.
We're operating on the assumption they are real people with living souls or whatever you want to deem it.
Yeah.
So we're going to operate on that assumption.
Yeah.
Now,
the game asks for that allowance.
For Verso's memories, and is painted Verso the same person as real Verso? This is something they have not answered and something that I have really struggled with, which is
me too.
When people are brought, either created in the first place in the image of someone else, in the case of the painted family.
If you do, yeah.
Or when somebody who was dead is brought back again. For instance, the party members after this gamage happened.
Yes, yes. In what manner?
Are they actually the same person? I would like to get Keith's overall ideas on this based on his understanding of it, but also just maybe in the concept of, do memories make a person?
Right. Like as in only.
Are your memories what make you who you are?
Right.
If you could transport your memories somehow perfectly into a different brain,
is that
you? Okay, Keith, what do you think about that?
Excellent tee up. I love this topic, and just as a quick plug for an amazing movie that's relevant, this is very relevant to movies like Dark City. So I think if you haven't seen that, go watch that movie. That question of "Are you your memories?" is it's
a good movie,
relevant to that. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a fascinating question. Very much in kind of open question in terms of the answer to that. You know, people that are relevant are, you know, philosophers like David Chalmers, who I've spoken with, right? And I agree with you that I think the developers have left this kind of open so that the ending choice can be justified either way. That being said, I think that there is a leaning towards the direction that these characters are sentient, as like you were saying. I think you know, you have characters that themselves are painted, so it could be biased, like Esquier, that, you know, are clearly saying, like, oh, you know, you're both real, you're cousins, you know, that kind of thing, right? You know, Mael is Mael's cousin, Verso is Verso's cousin, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's more determinative is the faded characters, right? Like the faded boy, who I think is Verso, like, or a Verso fragment,
I think
right?
So, yeah.
And there's one line of dialogue where that character says, like, this is just as real, just different, or something like that. So I think that that is tipping the scales, that at least the painter believes that it is real, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's that. And then this question, you know, this reminds me of something that I spoke about with David Chalmers, who's, related to this topic. He'd come up with a lot of ideas like philosophical zombies and things like this. We've talked about this in the past. But I remember a question that I posed David at one point was, you know, philosophers like thought experiments, right? So I came up with one that I was jokingly calling Keith's laser sword, right? So imagine if we lived in some future reality where, like, reconstruction could happen, like, instantly from, like, cellular damage or whatever. And a laser sword just cut me in half, like, instantly. And then within a moment, each half, like, regrew the other half. And now there are two Keiths, right? Which one inherited my original consciousness?
Yeah,
is either one the same as the person before? Is neither? Are they all valid, right? And from kind of thinking about these kind of questions, I think the answer might be there really is no such thing as a stream of consciousness. Maybe there really is just a moment of consciousness attached to that sense of a memory, right? And if that's the case, then the recapitulated characters would be functionally the same. And then a disturbing kind of question that follows from this is, are you the same person? If you undergo anesthesia, do you actually die and then it's just like another version of you that arises from the anesthesia? Because your consciousness is completely wiped out in those cases.
Yeah.
So that's just something to think about, or even when you go to sleep, perhaps.
Yeah. So are you saying that you think at the moment that painted Verso is made, let's just assume for the sake of argument for this point, that the memories that Alina gives to him are like perfect Verso memories or something. At the moment he's created, he is Verso at that moment, but then diverges because he has new experiences, new memories that are kind of his own thing. Would that be kind of an accurate way of sort of summing up what you think?
I think so. And certainly from the perception of other people that are interacting with that person, right? Assuming the memory transfer was 100% perfect, which is unlikely. But if we're saying if that's the case, then yes, like Mael should attend to that person in every sense as if they were up until that moment the same Verso, and then, maybe diverging from that point.
So what's Verso's problem?
Well, what do you mean what's his problem? I guess I should ask that first.
He doesn't feel like the original Verso.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, maybe it's the fact that after his creation, he then diverges with the knowledge there was this other person outside of this painting. There becomes a new identity formed through new experience.
Yeah, but the other guy's dead, so you are the continuation of the original Verso. It seems like Mael and Verso are both like, look, technically maybe, and Alina might see it that way, but that's not how it doesn't feel that way. That doesn't feel right to them at all.
I think the key problem here is that Verso feels that he is lesser in some way because of this process.
Yes. So through however this has been discussed, or however he learned about it, or however maybe painted Renoir sort of like gave his opinions about it, he has developed this inferiority complex about his identity.
Right.
Which would further diverge his identity from the original.
This is true, but in that case, that's just what needs to be cured. That he just needs this experience. He just needs a therapist to talk to him about memories, and all of a sudden he's good. Like you are Verso, right?
Yeah. To your points earlier, I think what this game really shows is the danger of false dichotomies, right? I think in many cases, especially with the conversations with Renoir, there was clearly a third option here besides the two that came out. So I think that's, there could have been a world where Verso could have made peace with the fact that he may or may not be the same as the original Verso, but he is a worthy entity on his own that shares some similar memories to perhaps someone who once exists. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I want to read something Dude McGuy wrote here, which I think is really important to keep in mind too. He says the painters themselves don't seem to agree on the nature of the canvas either.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Renoir acknowledges them as real people, which I'm going to get into here in a minute, but somehow lesser people.
Yeah.
Clea doesn't really seem to acknowledge them as real.
Right.
Which is why she has no problem doing what she did to Painted Clea. We'll get into that, what happened to Painted Clea a little bit later.
But then Alina sees them as...
Or at least wants
every
to
bit
believe
is
it
real.
So badly that she's like living... I don't want to call it a delusion, but like, who knows whether maybe she once believed that? Maybe once she believed something closer to what Renoir believes.
Oh, sure.
Because Renoir seems to believe pretty much everything Alina taught him.
Yes,
almost to the T.
Except for one thing. I'll explain why I think Alina believes that they are real, like full sail.
Okay.
I think it's necessary for her character.
But yeah, let's say that whether she always did or has recently adopted that belief or whatever, she currently does. Yeah. And is at least living as if that's true.
Yeah.
By living in the painted world and creating a family in there.
Right.
Right. Okay. So they might not necessarily agree on the nature of how these painted worlds work themselves. They
so
may
how
not
are we
even
supposed
know.
to,
how are we supposed to definitively say, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, good point.
Now, let's move forward in the scene a little bit here. Verso says, your father was right to erase everyone. It's better this way. Mael says, better for who? Verso would have never wanted his canvas gone. He loved Esquier and the Gestrels and the Grandis. Verso says it was killing our mother. See, he inherited the memory. So he's speaking about Alina as if it's his mother, but then he has to correct himself like, it's not exactly the same for you and me, right?
Right.
Staying here so long is in a make-believe world with her make-believe family. So Painted Verso is assuming the world is a make-believe world with make-believe people in it.
Yeah.
He has that conception or belief about the nature of the painted world.
Right.
Which is what led him to justify erasing it.
Well, then that would make me think original Verso may have had that same idea as well.
That's a very interesting point.
Because Clea and the Renoir, I see no reason why Verso wouldn't have leaned that
unless
way.
he, after being born, somehow developed that belief independently as his own thinking person based on his endless sort of cycling of joining with the expeditions and the loss and all the things that come with that. But he is at least speaking here as if he views this world as a make-believe thing. It's not real the way that you are real.
Right. This is so Inception. A lot of this harkens back to the movie Inception.
If I could jump in here, there's also a connection to just a very real philosophical problem that I have with you and you have with me, which is the problem of other minds.
Consciousness. The theory of mind.
So I think in some sense, the painted world, like a painted character who was born in the world and doesn't know any of this and clearly seems to be acting with their own agency that has nothing to do with Aline or Renoir. It just seems like they're in that same situation as the problem of other minds. You can't speak about that any more than I can speak about whether I know your consciousness.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up, at least in part because one of the issues that we deal with here is how we, how our decisions within the game might affect our world as well. Mm-hmm. How our assumptions that we make in Expedition 33, dealing with especially the choice at the end, how that maybe extrapolates out and affects our own world as well, and the way that we see each other and our own world.
Definitely. The problem of other minds is very relevant here.
It is.
Mael responds to him by saying, it's not make-believe. It's not. You're not to me. Then she kind of changes the topic here. Papa's here. He'll help me fix Lumiere.
Will he?
Verso says, will he? Mael says, my mom painted a rather unflattering portrait of him. He's much warmer than the Renoir you know. Verso says, I bet. So this is where you then move kind of from that alley out to where Renoir is and sort of the main courtyard that's near the pier by the sea there in Lumiere. And I'm not going to read too much of the dialogue here except for one part, but essentially Mael is very wrong about this.
She is.
She thinks... Yeah. He's got a soft spot in his heart for me, which ends up being true.
He does
at the end.
But even in these, he still has a soft spot for her. He doesn't want her to die.
Yes,
he has a very soft spot for her.
Yes.
She doesn't realize. Soft spot doesn't mean let you do whatever you want.
Yes.
Soft spot means I love you and I know what's best for you.
Yes.
And anyways, there's a little
bit.
But
she thinks I can convince him. I can talk him into.
Yeah.
Letting me stay or letting the painting continue.
But to your point about how current painted Verso has maybe at one point resembled painter Verso, but has gone off, had many experiences for 67 years or however long, and has kind of developed as a person differently from the person he was patterned after. Renoir has been in this painting for a very long time as well. The Renoir Mael knew or knows is the Renoir minus the experience of this painting, which for Renoir has been traumatic, to say the least.
Yes.
So that changes people. It's not the same guy you knew. Even though, true. I don't know how, we don't know how much time has passed in the painter's world versus the painted world, but it's not no time. It is enough time to where watching this day in and day out has been very taxing on Renoir.
Yeah. So they go out to the courtyard. He's there. And he does something very interesting here that to me is the evidence that at least Renoir believes painted people are real people.
Yeah.
So he turns to Verso. So he says to Alicia, "You're safe. I thought I told you to stay home." She says, "Technically, my body's home."
Teenage, what is that? Like smart, Alec, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
So he says some of Eileen's finest work.
Yeah.
He's talking to Verso now. Renoir is talking directly to painted Verso. Some of Eileen's finest work. I regret that it caused you so much pain. What Eileen did was so unfair to you most of all. Please accept the Desandre family's apologies. I know it seems absurd to offer oblivion as recompense, but perhaps that's the outcome we both desire. He would not be saying this to a video game NPC.
You're right.
You would not apologize
He has
to...
serious sorrow
Yes.
for this. Yeah.
You would not apologize to a video game NPC.
Yeah.
That, particularly with how kind of stubborn and it seems to me, I don't know, unmoving Renoir appears to be in his beliefs, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to he's not going to come down onto that level and talk to a video game NPC, someone he does not deem as a real human being, as a make-believe human being,
Right.
and apologize to them.
Right.
That's not in his character.
That's true.
So the fact that he does this is evidence to me that at the very least, Renoir believes painted people are sentient.
Sure.
Now, as Dude
That's
McGuy
good.
says,
That's good.
to whatever level of sentience, is
Right.
it the same as us, is a different question. Does he view the painted people in the same way he might another animal species in the world or something like
Which
that?
you still feel very bad for when bad things happen to
Sure.
animals. Yeah.
But obviously is not giving the same respect in terms of the value of life
Right.
to what he would a person in the painter's world.
Yeah. I have to say too, though, as a father, like just imagine this. Imagine somebody creates the perfect robot replica of your dead child and gives it to you, perfectly well-meaning. Like, you can have your child again. I made him. It's just the same, I promise. Everything's the same. It is your child. But you know that your child is dead. There's almost like a level of disgust that would be triggered in me at seeing somebody take my son and turn them into something that resembles a taxidermy, like something that resembles my child, but that just isn't. And once again, we go back to Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he's just explaining to the girl, like, you're not good enough. You're all of your imperfection and your perfection and all the details. Nobody can get it exactly right. You aren't the same person. You're just not good enough. That would be very difficult if from the factory they resurrect your dead child and try to pass it off, even though it just isn't. Yeah. It's not the same. This isn't mine. There's something that's happening in Renoir that I can maybe see that just, I don't know, just to be standing there and to even acknowledge, like, this is some fine work. You really look like my kid, but we both know you're not.
Yeah.
And that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ahead,
I want to
Keith.
provide a potential counterpoint to the thesis that Renoir necessarily feels the painted characters are lesser by virtue of being painted. It could also be simply like, I care about my L more than random people.
Oh, sure.
So,
That's,
so there could be
yeah,
some aspect of
there's
that
a word for
as
that.
well, right?
Of course, the people
Yeah.
closer to you care
This-
more about than those further out.
There are three really,
Yeah.
really key things I need to say now before I forget them. So I'm going to go in order. Number one, Ford R is asking, wait, which Renoir is doing this and when? It's hard to follow. So let me clarify that real quick. This is painter Renoir.
Yes.
Painted Renoir has been killed by
He's gone.
us.
Yeah, Mael touched him and he's gone.
We fought that boss and killed him, and then
This is the curator, right?
Mael gamaged him.
Yeah.
So painted Renoir is dead.
Yeah.
So this is painter Renoir, who was the curator.
The real Renoir.
Well, the real Renoir, please stand up. Okay, so that's an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Second, this idea about can another person, in this case, Verso's mother, perfectly recreate Verso? I have, in my interpretation or read of this game, the answer is no. I'm just letting everyone know that's like my assumption where I'm coming from. No other person can recreate a person perfectly, no matter how close you were and how well you feel you knew them.
Yeah.
There are always parts of a person that they don't reveal to anyone outside of themselves. Endless thoughts, memories, complexities that make that person that even if they tried, they couldn't share.
Right. Right.
That make
It's not all verbal.
who you are.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes on in this brain of mine that never leaves that brain of mine in the terrible medium we've created of language to explain. So nobody, it's not even myself probably, but certainly nobody else could, even if they had the tools to, on the cellular level, recreate me in the image that is near perfect physically. Could they recreate all those abstract thoughts and memories perfectly to create me again exactly as I was? So I am going to be moving forward on the assumption that these painted recreations are not the same as the original people because a third party cannot do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Keith?
Yeah, I do agree with your read of it in this case, but I think there are a lot of caveats to at least talk about that could mean the opposite, right? And we just don't know this, right?
Sure.
What you're saying has to do, of course, with the concept of the imago, right? Which we talked about in the past in the Xenogears episodes, of something that has plagued me personally, of like, can you ever really be in love with someone else? Or is it just the image that you have of them? And that's very much the Krellian Fae dialogue at the end of Xenogears, right? So, but we don't know, I mean, unless the act of painting someone who was once a person, if there's some magical ability to capture some actual essence and implant it into the painting or something like that, maybe. So I'm just throwing that out there as a potential possibility, but I don't think that's the case. And I think there's in-world evidence for that not being the case, which is when Mael was like, actually, no, maybe I'm reversing myself. Because remember how Mael can restore...
yes, I was just going to bring this up.
Because like the Chroma was like fresh, or like she still like enough of the secret sauce was there, but she couldn't do that for those who were, Chroma dead, 50 years ago.
Longer.
So my main point is that I think you could make an argument one way or the other, but I ultimately agree with you that I think that this isn't a perfect capture or something like that.
Yes. So I was going to bring this up. There are people who have brought to my attention this sort of idea of one of the rules of the canvas, which is if a person dies and it's a fresh, like it just happened, a painter can capture the essence of that person in a much more complete way, and then restore them back to life.
It's almost like on a painting, the paint is still wet, something like that, right? It hasn't yet completely dried into what it is, where it now has to be. It becomes more difficult. That's true. Also, Chroma comes from the painters and is a finite kind of resource, like it depletes, right? So initially, as soon as somebody dies, you probably still lost something. Maybe 99.9%, but you've retained the majority of what it is, right?
So, but then again, as a quick point. Oh, sorry, just a super quick point. The same could be said of a human being. I have some sort of brain surgery. Like maybe I lose a little piece of myself, but I'm mostly recovered. So again, these same issues can still map onto the real world in some context, right?
Sure.
Right, yeah.
I bring this up to delineate the difference or to explain possibly one of my biggest points of confusion when I first played the game, which is why doesn't Mael just bring Gustav back for Act 3? Like, why wouldn't Gustav be the first person she brings back?
I know
to
why.
life?
It's because Gustav and Verso have the same moveset. So, like, well, not exactly, but close enough. The gameplay reason.
The gameplay or the game developer reason was probably that it would have been tough to reintroduce that character and build out a whole skill tree and everything and balance that character for Act 3. I get that. But for the story explanation for it, it seems to be that people believe because this gamage happened and like Lune and Ciel and those characters died fresh, Mael was able to recapture their Chroma fresh and bring them back. But she cannot do that for those who have been dead longer.
Too long.
Like Gustav or all of those other reanimated expeditioners that she like puppeteers for this final battle at the end, right?
Yeah.
She sort of like brings them back as almost like ghostly phantasma zombie people.
Yeah.
Who like
just
go
an
and
army.
attack.
The army of the dead in Return of the King, basically. Yeah.
Right. So like the Chroma is kind of limited too. Because Renoir's in the painting, and that was the resource, remember, that Aline and Renoir were fighting over.
Right. The finite amount of Chroma.
They were slowing or stopping the flow of Chroma back to Aline, which was weakening her as the paintress goddess of this world.
That makes sense. Yeah, Chroma is the energy that makes the world exist.
Right, and it's what essentially gives life to the people and different species.
So I'll give you some supporting details with that. When people die, like when Gustav died, he didn't immediately turn into that black looking like colorless like hard rock. The way that people do when they die, the other expeditions, when we come across them, they are like statues.
They're petrified.
Right? They're petrified. But initially, when people die, the people that we see throughout the game, they aren't that right away. So it's a process of once you die, you slowly turn into that as your Chroma basically is depleted. Right. Or something like that, but you basically lose that. But you don't lose it right away. So that's true, and that's actually a really important detail for what happens later. Because essentially, without the active sustenance of the Chroma itself, the whole painting kind of freezes.
Yeah.
A couple of quick modulation points on this as well, where painted Verso does seem to indicate, though, that there is some sort of mental aspect of this on the part of the painter as well, because remember when she's trying to do it, she can't do it, and he's like, think of them, like remember them.
Imagine
so there's like
picture the painting and then repaint it. A lot of this is a metaphor for actual painting, right? Yes. And that it's almost like the Chroma of a painting is something that the painter imbues it with while painting, or it's something that the viewer participating with the art it comes alive when someone's watching it, but when you put it away, there's no magic that keeps it alive. There's a metaphor happening here between actual art and the way it's perceived, that the game's kind of building on.
Yeah, and there's yet another extenuating factor here as well, which is I believe the way characters die matters, because if I remember right, like one of Clea's jobs, right, with the Nevrons, like when people get killed by Nevrons, they're killed in such a way specifically to kind of like lock their Chroma to not come back. So and then the Gamage is not that, right?
That's true.
But we don't know what painted Renoir killing somebody does, I think, which, right? So like that could be another reason why this couldn't fly or whatever.
Exactly. But that point you bring up about Verso pointing out to her, you need to really like imagine them. You have to like really hold them in your mind when you paint them, is again why my personal reading is they're not different. The same person.
Yeah.
So when Mael brings Lune and Ciel back, as much as they may seem to resemble the people that there were before, my reading is they are not the same. Okay. That I'm not saying that's the correct, like, canonical interpretation. I don't believe there is one, because they don't answer this question. But that is the way I'm going to kind of be reading this as we move forward. If you guys disagree, let me know.
I don't know if I agree or not, actually, because this isn't one of the things that I really considered much. They just, the game presented them as the same-ish enough people to me, so I just kind of take them as the same. You've got me to think of it on a different level, and I guess I just have to think about it more.
What is your personal interpretation on that, Keith?
Yeah, I think that in the case of if it was fast enough and the person's memory is clear enough, like for example, I think Lune and CL being brought back is probably like, functionally equivalent to the Lune and CL that was there earlier in the game. Now, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but in the endings, I'm not so sure, and that makes it even more disturbing, I guess.
Sure. Or in the repainting of someone like Esquier, who is full of secrets that Mael did not know. Yeah. Right? How does that work? I don't know.
Okay, so just wanted to throw out that. Now, the third thing I wanted to really make sure that I touched on before we move forward. I like that you brought up the fact, Keith, that it may not be that he sees them as lower life forms necessarily, but just that he prioritizes his own.
Of course, which is very natural. Yeah.
This is very natural, and I really want people, as we continue discussing this, to truly reflect and ask themselves, what would you do? This is kind of trolley problem-ish, but let's pretend the trolley problem is your own family is the one person on the track.
I see.
And the 5 others on the other side, or let's just say it's going to run into a whole town and blow up a whole town or something, a whole town of strangers.
Like a billion people.
But the one person that you could divert the track to save is your wife or your child or your parents or someone close to you.
Yeah.
Okay? This is something that I think we would all love to think. We would all love to believe that we would choose the greater good of people than our own sort of like selfish. I don't want to call it selfish. It's not, because that could
not in the connotations.
That gives a negative connotation to it, as if it's wrong or something.
Right.
As much as the general moral principle we accept is that we self-sacrifice for the greater good.
Sure.
Right?
But for the greater good of your family, not for the greater good of people you don't know
I don't
really
know.
far away.
I think the greater good of humanity is often something that is
people say that. I see. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm getting at.
That's what you're saying.
Is that we are sort of taught in the media we consume, in the morals that are taught to us, we self-sacrifice for the greater good of humanity or of the larger group. That's as like a baseline moral guiding principle.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, do you really hold to that? This goes all the way back to the beginning of the game with Gustav and Lune were talking, and she asked him that question. Mm-hmm. Do you really still believe in what we're fighting for?
Right.
Because that means you need to let Mael go, and we need to do this instead.
Right.
You need to abandon her, and we have, rules we're meant to follow here as expeditioners. And he says, no, I'm going after Mael. I'm prioritizing her over humanity.
Right. Yeah.
And Renoir here, I believe, is demonstrating the same thing. And what I'm asking you to consider is, if you are quick to condemn those in this story who do that, what would you really do? If this is the person you care about more than anyone else who's going to die to preserve the group, what would you really do? Okay, I'm not giving an answer. I'm just I'm bringing that up because Keith brought it up, and I think it's an important thing that the developers are asking you in the ending, scenarios and in the choice that you make. Okay, so we get back to the end of this scene here. I'm not going to read any more of this. Essentially, she's wrong. She's not going to be able to convince him. He, eventually comes down to, you'll die. You've already been here longer than you should be. Look at me. I said no. I'm not letting my daughter risk her life. It's time to go home. So it ends at an impasse. They cannot,
because he says, your mother. Verso painted this canvas. It contains a piece of his soul. She'll never willingly part with it.
Yes.
So
basically, if we go home and leave the canvas here, she's just going to come back. Aline's just, in his mind, she's just going to come back. We have to destroy this canvas. There's no other choice. Mael refuses to accept that. Esquier comes flying in. She and Painted Verso jump on Esquier, fly away.
Yeah.
This is where then she then repaints the party, as in Lune and Ciel back, and Monoko and not Noko. There's a whole
thing that happens later.
Quest where you bring him back in the more conventional way.
Yeah, where you cut in line.
Yes. So we'll get to that soon. Anything before we move on?
Yeah, I think this is probably like the key part where it just becomes clear where, like, as the gamer, you're just like, man, there is totally a third way here. If you guys could just stop ratcheting it up to 11.
Tell me your idea of the third way. Explain that.
Yeah, so I think in this case, like, Alicia could have said, I hear what you're saying, Dad, but I think the value of these lives matter here. So how about I help you kick Aline out of the canvas now, and I'll spend some time with you in the real world, but then, like, we'll work together, and, like, we'll come back, and, we'll have, like, a vacation plan here or something like that.
It's like a timeshare.
And I'll help you with our mother. Like, it's something like that. I feel like.
So that depends on Renoir. So you're right that, and I think that's what everyone kind of wanted to happen. Like, let's talk, let's come together. What if Renoir says no? Which he does in the game.
Well, that's, I think, what Keith is kind of pointing at, and the frustration that I have too.
Yeah.
Is
it's like, just say yes.
There is a false dichotomy all over this game.
Right. In that no one actually changes, by the way. Have you noticed this? The character development, you can say that Mael undergoes some in her discovery of different things, but especially by the end of the game, it's like, oh, she's never going to change. Verso is never going to change his mind. Renoir is never going to change his mind. Alina is never going to change her mind. Alicia is never. None of these people are ever going to be convinced by an argument to change their position. None of them. The only person with actual agency here is the player.
Yes.
That's the way I see it.
So I can hold on. I'm gonna say something real quick, Keith. This is the frustration because it is, I would say, philosophically or in an abstract sense, a false dichotomy.
Right.
There are clearly different options they could choose.
Yes. They have done this to themselves.
They could both leave. They could hide the painting.
Yes.
They could work as a family. They could get therapy. They could heal and not have to destroy this canvas and not kill all the people in it.
Right.
There is a very real path forward to where that could be the outcome.
At least there should be. Yeah.
However, people in real life do this.
Yes.
People in real life are absolutely stubborn,
Yep.
will not back down, and you cannot convince them. Therefore, the false dichotomy becomes a true dichotomy.
Very
you
nice.
have
Very good.
no choice because this person will not listen to reason.
Right.
They are going to do what they're going to do, and nothing you say, nothing you do will stop them. So now you have to fight. And that is the real frustration a lot of times is that people, they force the issue. They force the dichotomy when it doesn't have to exist. Is that
you're
more
right.
or less
People really do this.
what you were getting at, Keith?
Yeah, 100%. Although I'm more optimistic than Kaysen because I do think there is a character that clearly does move their position significantly, which is Renoir.
Yes,
Painter Renoir.
Yeah.
Because after you defeat the curator Renoir in battle,
at the very end,
he basically says, like,
I'll leave the lights on.
I don't agree, but I love you, and we'll try it your way. Like he does, like,
You're
acquiesce.
After we kill him, after we literally kill him, he does change his mind. That's a good point. You're right, but it's a tentative. It's not a full reversal. It's we'll try it your way for like a week. All right, I'll leave the lights on tonight, and if this doesn't work, we're doing it my way. Like, it's not a real complete change. It's just a subtle opening that is only open for a little bit, and he's going to close it again as soon as he can. It's kind of that. But you're right that he does change.
I think we would assume that that's correct.
Yeah.
But it does seem at least that he has softened at the end, and he wants at least to believe she's telling the truth.
Even though he knows she isn't.
Yeah, it turns out she's definitely not telling. Okay,
Yeah,
go
well,
back.
and he
I
knew
want to
that.
kick it back to Keith real
Okay,
quick
this
to let
is
you
good.
finish your point.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the point. Is that it might all collapse, but like that third option there of like let's go home, let's give it a try, let's go through therapy, let's try a vacation plan for a week. It seems like at that moment Renoir is willing to give that a shot for a little bit.
That's a very. I love that you
Yeah.
mentioned that. That's a very
Yes.
good point.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite scenes in the game. Is Renoir finally softening up? In which case, Maya was right. He is very soft and
Yeah,
very
she
tender
ended up
underneath.
being
More so
correct
than
on
literally
that
anyone
sort of
else. In terms of like being willing to change.
Okay, one thing I'm going to bring up here is we're going to start moving forward into the sort of optional content of Act 3 now to sort of fill in some of the story. But if there is anything that we have skipped that I don't want to say skipped because it's not like we're purposefully or that we've missed it or something. It's just a matter of we didn't take a note on it because there wasn't something that sparked for us to comment on. But if there's something that we haven't commented on that you would like us to comment on, please leave a comment and say, hey, and can you guys talk about this or that? And we'll see when we come back around to our absolute, for sure, final episode, whether there's something we have that we feel like we can add to that particular point.
I will say that here, you mentioned the dichotomies. There's this discussion with Lune at the camp where she says, that's your problem. You always think in false dichotomies. It wasn't an either-or situation. Other solutions were possible if you'd only trusted us enough to ask. But then Verso, I love this because people explain it in a certain way where it's like, oh, that's good. But then Verso says, knowing what you know now, would you have helped me force my mother out of the canvas?
Yes.
And she doesn't respond.
Yes.
Like it's, in a way, she's just like, it's not either-or. And then he's like, oh, yeah? Like, here's an example. What do you do here? And she's like, well, all of a sudden either or clicks right on in her brain. And she's like, yes, no, no. Because it kind of is sometimes. It shouldn't be, but it often is.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That is a scene from the camp because now they all are really mad at him, understandably.
All of them. And CL, this line from CL where she says, oh, please, I would sacrifice you in a heartbeat to have my, this goes to what you're saying about people care about what's closer to them. And it's just like, oh, you're not my real, like, because you have the option for a romance with CL. And she says this notwithstanding the romance, should you choose to pursue her in that way. She's just like, oh, you're not as close to me as he was. I will kill you to have him back.
Yes.
Like literally, I will sacrifice you for him in a heartbeat.
I am going to actually read these scenes now because
They're
they
really
point
good.
out a couple of really important things. So if you talk to Esquier, he goes, ooh, everyone's mad at you, right? And you? Verso asks, are you? Esquier says, Esquier can be sad or bad or even rad, but never mad.
never mad.
Bad things happen when we get mad.
Ooh,
I really love
fighting.
that line. I really love that line
that's
a
nice.
lot. Verso says, oh, I know. And then Esquier says, but I can never be mad at you. Okay. If you go talk to CL, she says, save it. The first thing. She's like expecting him to come and talk. I don't need your mea culpa. You did what you felt you had to. Of course, you were wrong, but oh well. Verso says, I thought you'd be more upset. She says, I got over it.
I got over it.
And then she says, everything I knew about our world is wrong. And you know what? I don't care. Because death isn't death anymore. And that means I can see my husband again. So she's talking about the fact that she died, but now she's alive again. She died and she was brought back to life.
I have to think about that. Is that what she's talking about?
She says, death isn't death anymore.
Yes, but that's just because she now knows that she can see that her husband can be brought back.
Right.
I feel like it's more reference.
Because it's both. I just experienced the fact that death isn't death. That means my husband can be brought back to life too.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I can be brought back to life, my husband can be brought back to life.
But
that
Mael
changes
didn't know
everything.
her. That's all right. It's all good.
Well, that's one thing I didn't mention when I was talking about the rules. At the end of the game, when Mael has full control of Chroma in the canvas,
can bring back
she
even-
brings back Gustav, she brings back her husband. Ciel's husband is there at the ending in Mael's
So it
ending.
must not be Mael I mean, that would lend itself towards these are the real original people, not Mael's version of them.
Again, I don't interpret it that way.
Okay.
I interpret
Maybe.
it. What were you going to say? What are you going to add there, Keith?
Let's talk about it later,
Okay.
but like based on how people are acting in that ending, which is very disconcerting.
Yes,
I'm
they
not
did that on
so
purpose.
sure what's going on. So,
Yeah.
but
That's a good
get there.
point.
Based on what Keith is referring to there, that is what's tragic to me about Mael's ending.
Yeah.
I don't believe all of those painted people she brought back from death are who they originally were. But
Gotcha. Okay.
we'll touch on that more later. But
Fair enough.
that is at least what CL is seeming to believe at this point. I was just brought back from death. That means my husband can be brought back from death. Death is not death. This whole world is not what I thought it was, right? So it's all good. I can be with my husband again. She says, "Oh, please, I'd sacrifice you in a heartbeat to get him back. I understand we're good."
Yeah.
So a lot of people, as I've been playing through this game again, whether it's people joining me for the live streams or just people in the comments, I think understandably really don't like Verso.
Sure.
He's
a snake.
Lies. He's a bit of a snake.
Yeah.
He manipulates people. All of those things would lead someone to feel disconcerted or not trusting or
Yeah.
just, I don't like this guy. And at the heart of his motivation is exactly the same thing that CL just admitted she would also have done.
Yep.
So if you like CL and you don't
I think
like
most people like
Verso,
CL. Yeah.
I think everyone likes CL.
Yeah, I think she's great.
If you like CL and you don't like Verso, this is why I asked that question. What would you really do
Right.
if it's the most important person in your life, trolley problem? The
Yeah.
person you love is the one on the tracks. Other people that are not as close to you, even if they're friends, and then other strangers, but it's just a lot of them. Who are you really going to save?
Right.
We're going to say something there, Keith?
Yeah, in a weird way, to kind of steelman Verso's character, you could almost say that you compare it to painter Renoir and Alicia, this is almost more selfless or more widening the circle, because painted Verso is doing this because he doesn't want painter Aline to suffer.
Yes.
That's not his mother. That's someone else.
Oh,
You
that's
know?
very interesting.
So,
But he
That's very interesting. But
believes and feels that she is.
he has the memories of original Verso. Yeah.
He views her, feels about her as if she is.
Yeah.
But has to live with this.
Oh, do you remember the movie AI?
Yes.
With Haley Joel Osment?
Yes.
I was going to bring that up.
Oh, that movie gets me every time. I really,
Yeah.
the more time goes on, I think fondly of that movie, because it didn't get the best reviews when it came out, but I think I might want to watch it again. That had an interesting premise.
So anyway, just want to bring that up. CL would have done exactly the same freaking thing. Now we come to Lune's conversation. I was right not to trust you. And what would you have done in my position? I wouldn't have betrayed my expedition.
So she's going back to her low level, like just her expedition rules.
Mm-hmm.
I made a promise, and I wouldn't betray that.
I would have
Very
warned them that everyone they cared about was about to be erased, that they were about to be erased. I would have told them the truth, because after everything we've been through, we deserved that.
Yeah.
So you
and then
choose,
the cycle goes forever.
So you'd choose your expedition over your mother? Luna says, that's your problem. You think in false dichotomies. It wasn't either or. It wasn't a or an either or situation. Other solutions were possible if you'd only trusted us enough to ask.
Right.
Now, there's a part of me that really, really wants to believe that.
Of course.
If you had talked to us and shared your problem with us, maybe we
Yes.
could have found some other solution that would have resulted in no one has to be erased, plus your mother doesn't have to die.
Right.
I still believe that there's a very real
It's
solution there.
Possible. It's possible. But he's also been traveling with many expeditions, and
Yes.
at least one of them we know did get this knowledge, and it didn't go the way the way that Lune is saying that it
Yes.
could go.
Yeah,
Now-
that's just. I was going to say the same thing, Jason.
Yeah. So Verso says, knowing what you know now, would you have helped me force my mother out of the canvas? And then she has no answer to that. I don't apologize for saving her, but I am sorry I broke your trust, and I will do everything I can to help bring everyone back. Now, here's another point that there has been confusion on. I admittedly was confused about this first.
Yeah.
Verso, for the entire game, was working towards an end where he wanted to erase the canvas.
Right. I think.
Achieved that, and then it gets brought back, and now he's with Mael, and he seems to be working with the party and with Mael to bring everyone back again.
But maybe
what
not really.
happened? What changed his mind? Why is he working with us now?
Because Mael's the new paintress.
Well,
And
I
you now need to
believe
convince her.
if you go back and watch the scene, we'll try to put this in so that people can see. One thing I think that is brilliant about the storytelling of Expedition 33, of this game in general, is they do a lot of storytelling with the camera on characters' expressions and reactions to things being said. So you can't just get that by like reading the text, because you're not seeing that when Mael says this thing to Renoir, it cuts to Verso's face as he is seeing that, and then it sinks in for him.
Right.
So what I'm positing here is that Mael is proposing another solution. We don't have to erase this canvas, Papa. Mom is out now.
Yeah.
She's safe. You don't have to erase this canvas. It's okay. We can find another way to keep this here, and also she's saved. And I believe Verso hears that and wants to believe that there is a path to that result right now. There is a very, very important scene where he realizes that's not going to happen. Mael's not going to leave. Where he then turns back to the canvas needs to be erased. So for anybody who is like,
very nice.
Verso's motivations have completely flipped for no reason.
Well, I don't know if you've been in put yourself in his shoes for a minute, dude. Like everything disappears and then comes back, and then you're immortal, but you're like done with life. Like, come on.
What I'm saying here is Verso initially believed exactly the same as painter Renoir. Not painted Renoir, painter Renoir. This canvas needs to be destroyed to save Elaine's life.
Right.
But now he is beginning to believe.
Thank you, Morpheus. Yes.
That there may be a way for both to happen. Elaine saved and painting, kept around, secured, whatever. But through the events of traveling with Mael in Act 3, he then returns to believing, no. It's now the whole problem has been created, but Mael has stepped in for Elaine instead.
And he more or less gets her to admit that towards the end. So, yeah.
So that's what's going on with Verso. That's why Verso changes and is willing to help restore the canvas at this point. But it's going to change again. Okay. Now we can start talking about
other stuff.
Other stuff here. So there are a few things in particular that are like really important story additions to Act 3's content. But there's a lot. I mean, almost all the content in Act 3 is optional. Almost all of it. Yeah. The only thing that wouldn't be would be going back to Lumiere and fighting Renoir and ending the game.
Yeah.
But everything else, the Frozen Hearts section, the Endless Night Sanctuary section, the Reacher, Sacred River, Seren's Dress, the Flying Manor,
Alicia on the pillar.
That's the Reacher.
Okay.
The Endless Tower,
the casino, which was disappointing. Let's just say. It was disappointing.
All of this content is optional.
Yeah.
But some of it gives really, really important story context. I mean, unbelievably important. I would say the Reacher, which is essentially the one with all those balloons, right? And you're kind of like going up and up and up, and you end up fighting painted Alicia at the end of that.
Yeah. That's a very
should have been mandatory.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely should have been mandatory.
Yeah.
Because this moment I'm talking about, where you start to see Verso turning back to his original motivations, is really key at the end of that scene. So I think we're going to talk through all of those ones I just mentioned, all of those areas. Some of them have more story context than others. So we have Frozen Hearts, Endless Night Sanctuary, The Reacher, Sacred River, Seren's Dress, Flying Manor, Painting Workshop, Endless Tower. All of those have relevant story stuff.
Yeah, some good lines too.
But the first one I want to start on is the Reacher, which is this scene that I think should have been mandatory in the game.
Yeah, I agree. I did not do this my first playthrough, by the way. I did not see this.
Okay.
And only in my second playthrough now have I seen this.
So when you enter this place, Miles says, I found the letter. And Verso says, what? And Miles says, from Alicia, the one that he was supposed to give to her.
Yeah.
I don't, and then she says, I need to see her. I want to talk to her and understand. So she wants to go talk to painted Alicia, the painted version of herself.
Yeah.
Gosh, this part is so full of important stuff.
It really is.
I'm
really
honestly
is.
baffled that they did not make this mandatory.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that they did not.
I agree.
So Verso says, understand what? Mael, why Mon? And then Verso says, kept her scars? No, don't go messing with her head. She doesn't need that, and she doesn't owe you any answers. Now remember, for Verso, this is his sister.
Yeah.
He feels like Mael is his sister in many ways.
In another life.
Right? Because like this is the one his sister's based on.
Yeah.
So like he has an affinity towards Mael too, but Alicia, painted Alicia, is like truly his sister.
That's
in this
who
world.
he grew up with for like 70 years. Yeah.
So he does not want anyone messing with painted Alicia.
Right.
Right.
He's saying she doesn't owe you
Yes.
any answers. Why would you do this for this is a selfish thing that you want to know, and you're going to disturb somebody's peaceful life in order to get what you want. You're starting to act a little paintressy at the moment and less like compassionate.
Yeah. So Verso says, just leave her be, please. Mael, she's the one who kept coming to me. Like, I think she wants to see me. Verso, you're not doing her any favors. You already destroyed her world. Maybe I can help her. She doesn't owe me, but maybe I owe her. The way she's phrasing this is so sinister when you consider what she's going there to do.
I know. Oh, goodness.
It's oh man, it just like turns my stomach a little bit. Let's not talk about what you owe her. Don't you want to see her too? And Verso says, yeah, of course. She doesn't want to see me, though. Not after everything. Mael, then she can throw us out and we'll leave her alone.
Well, she fights us. She tried. It's not like she didn't try. We just won.
Great. Where is she? Verso says, if I had to guess, she's in the place that she loves at the top of the mountain near the monolith with the third axon.
And this is so funny because Mael says something along the lines of, Papa knows I'm afraid of heights. I can't remember exactly where this was. It might even be here.
Yes, it's here.
But Alicia is not afraid of heights if this is where she goes.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that there was an intentional keeping of certain attributes of Mael in Alicia, in painted Alicia by Alina, but also the removal of certain other attributes that Mael has that Alicia does not have.
Yeah.
And that I just find that extremely fascinating.
Now remember that painter Renoir created an axon kind of based on each member of his family.
That's right? Yeah.
So the Mask Keeper was based on Verso.
Verso, yeah.
Seren, I believe her name was based on
Clea, I think.
Not
Clea?
Aline.
Oh, that was Alina.
This axon here is based on Mael, and then there's one other axon who is an old Lumiere that was based on Clea.
That's
that one
right.
was killed by
right.
another character we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's a whole fascinating thing. One of the super bosses of the game, someone from Expedition Zero, who we're going to be talking about in a little bit, ended up killing the axon that was based on Clea in Old Lumiere. Okay, so Luna says, another axon. How did it get so large? She wasn't always this tall, but she's obsessed with reaching the stars.
Yes.
So
that's interesting.
Mael then says, Papa and his parables. He never paints just to paint. Everything has to have layers and layers of meaning and purpose. Everything's a lesson. Luna says, so what's the lesson with this one? Mael says, hope.
Hope. Yeah.
And then Alicia, my sister's at the top, says Verso. So they continue up. Let's see. I don't think... There's another dialogue here where Ciel says, are they trying to fix things or break things? The little monsters running around in here. Monoko says, She who grasps the sky. They're jealous. They want to destroy her work, pull her back down to the ground.
Like lobsters in a bucket.
Yeah, like lobsters in a bucket. Is this part of the parable? Everything is, says Mael. Okay, I'm just going to go to the end here. Well, there's this part that's pretty good. Mael says, vertigo, remember? His intentions are good, I know, but his methods. Your father?
Will you have to confront what you're afraid of?
I'm the youngest, which makes everything worse. Oh, I understand that, says Lunacia. Only child. Mael, yeah, Clea is the oldest. She's just so perfect, so accomplished and talented. Papa's favorite, so he's proud of her. And Verso could always make Papa laugh. They had many inside jokes, and then there's me. And then Verso says, and then there's you, the actual favorite, the one he calls his hidden star, but who's too shy and self-conscious to see it. Yet here I am messing things up even more. And Verso says, look around, he just wants you to fly. So
see that's not the image of Renoir that we get up to this point, of the one that they're painting of here. The hope that Renoir has for his children is very high. And of course Miles saying, well, his methods are bad, but his intentions are good. And Verso kind of explaining this. And I don't know, it's just so interesting to look at this, that everything that Renoir has done up to this point and the whole like purpose for it. Yeah. And it's, he is so obsessed with controlling people, but the goal of his control of people is to let them go
help them reach their
bring
potential.
them up in a proper way so that they can then,
reach their
fly,
potential.
do whatever they want to do, but not just, in a chaotic manner, like, to bring somebody up and orient them, in a certain way and then let them kind of go. I don't know. It's just different from what we've seen up to this point.
Yeah.
It's control with the purpose of losing control at the end.
All right. So now we get up to the top. And Alicia is there. Hello, Mael says. Verso says, Alicia, your letter.
Oh, and she doesn't speak, by the way.
Nope, she does not speak. Mael, she blames us, doesn't she? You didn't deserve that. Oh, you're the real Axon. You know Papa painted her, so you know who she represents. You like being here with her. So she's not speaking, but she's sort of like responding as if she's understands her responses. For me then, go, claim your piece of sky. We both deserve to fly. Let me give you a new beginning. So this is like after...
Yeah, this is after
part
the fight.
of this is after the fight. So you have a fight with Alicia, and then she's saying, I'm going to give you a new beginning. And Verso says, Alicia says, send me to my family. And Verso, wait, Mael, and then Mael gamages her. This is so interesting.
Yeah.
That Mael chooses to gamage Alicia, painted Alicia,
right,
even if she's asking to be.
Right.
So painted Alicia asks, Send me to my family. I would like to be gamaged. I want you to do this.
Yes.
Mael, no second thoughts. No, like, are you really sure? Like, try to talk her out of it. Nothing.
Right.
This is so contrary to her character in every other instance in the game.
It was really shocking, yeah.
She just immediately, okay, boom, gamages her, just like that. Doesn't talk to Verso, doesn't give Verso a chance to say goodbye.
Maybe doesn't ask for some clarification, like, which are you talking about, Painter family or Paint? I believe she's talking about Painted family, but even still.
Not a moment spent trying to either talk her out of it, really try to understand what's going on, nothing. She is just so perfectly happy to gamage her right away when she asks.
Right.
Now, we've already talked about, we're taking spoilers off the table. She gives painted Verso no options.
He's begging her.
At the end.
And this is the difference. So Alicia is kind of like her doppelganger. Have you seen the movie The One with Jet Li?
I have not.
Where there's like different universes and you have to find yourself in a different universe and then kill him. And that way you get more power. Anyways, it's really kind of funny. But it's funny that she has gotten rid of all of them, but not Verso. That is so fascinating. And I thought about this as well with Alicia. She understands Alicia's pain, but refuses to see Verso's pain. She will not see it. And I don't know why. I think she's got this image in her mind. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for Verso. I'm doing this to help Verso. I'm doing this. This is Verso's painting. Verso should be here, right? She has this idea about Verso that he shouldn't want to leave here, right? But Alicia, well, she's based on me and I'm me, so like she can go. But Verso is based on someone who's dead, so he has to stay here. I can't help but think that maybe there's some generalized reasoning there that is in conflict with her other resolutions.
Well, think about the entire reason for Mael living here in the first place, and Eileen's reason. It's because they can't be with Verso anymore. He died. And in here, they feel like they can get a life with their lost son or brother that they were robbed of.
Right. By fate.
How does having a copy of yourself as the sister, the true sister of Verso, complicate that fantasy?
Quite a bit. Oh, dude, you just unlocked the darkness of this whole situation.
It's horrible.
You just did it.
It's
oh my
horrible.
gosh. Ah.
She doesn't want painted Alicia there.
Oh my gosh. Because that ruins her connection to Verso.
Is the actual sister.
Holy crap. I think you're right, dude.
And that's why she was so willing to just get rid of her.
Oh.
Because she doesn't want her there.
That is crazy.
She's replacing her for painted Verso.
Because she's trying to create her own little paradise, her own little utopia.
100%.
That is
so. Even though painted Alicia asked,
yes,
even though painted Alicia was ready, that's not why Mael gamaged her, and she would never have done that with anyone else.
That is so dark.
If Lune had asked, if CL had asked, if Verso begs, literally begs.
Yes.
Nope. You'll come around. I'll help you see. No. Not for painted Alicia.
Alicia, she sees there is no future for you here.
Yep.
You have to go.
And they have a conversation. They have a conversation back at camp. Verso is rightfully livid.
This comment here by Weird Mammal on our Discord on Patreon says, I also think Painted Alicia is a reminder of the real world she is trying to escape.
100%.
She does not want to see that.
Because she's burned.
Yeah.
Painted Alicia is burned.
Yep.
She has the scars
and
still.
Can't speak and needs to wear a mask and all that.
Yep. All of that is part of it. So back at the camp, Verso is...
he's pissed.
And you have to. You also have to look at his face when this happens. He's like rushing
horrified.
to her. She's gamaging, and the way he turns and looks at Mael. That's the moment where he's turning back again to his original motivation.
I think you're right.
This painting needs to be erased. It's just endless cycles of tragedy where these gods come in and mess with us.
Right.
And we can't coexist with these gods. They're too cruel. Is, I think, the conclusion he comes to, or is beginning to come to from moments like this. Right? So, they're back at camp. I mean, it's just back and forth, awkward. Mael says, I'm sorry. Verso doesn't respond. Mael says, it's what she wanted. I owed her that much. We owed her that much. Verso doesn't respond. I honored her wishes. That's something neither you nor Renoir ever did, and not Maman either. And Verso says, I didn't get to say goodbye. You didn't wait. You didn't give me a chance to persuade her. Mael, she knew what she wanted. You wouldn't have been able to sway her. Isn't that so much like what Renoir would say?
Yes. That's basically turning it into a dichotomy of it has to be this or this, and I know what would have happened. Don't. Yeah, that's
this is not Mael.
Yeah.
This is so contrary to her character.
That's crazy.
It's because it's all self-motivated, and she doesn't want to admit that. Verso says, she's not you. You don't know that. I know her better than you do, but you didn't even give me the chance to try. You just erased her.
Here's another thing. Mael genuinely considers her life of being a burn victim not worth living.
Yes. That's true too.
It's almost like she's, if you are me to the extent that I think you are, you're special. You get a pass. You really, because she can identify with that more. Like, you don't know what it's like to live where you can't speak, whatever. The thing that really kills me, and I'm so conflicted on this, is that Mael's biggest passion is to write. The fact that she has lost a lot of capacities with her burned body is utterly tragic. But the thing she loves most, she can still do.
Right.
And so, but see, the writers and the painters don't get along.
Yeah. She's not part of their
see, and that's maybe the difficulty here, where it's like, she's not a good painter. She is a good writer, but she I don't know how that world works. Can she just be a writer but still allied with the painters? Or does writing itself create a conduit for the writers to enter into their home through her writings? Something like that. I don't know. But at the very least, my thinking is you can still, you lost some things, you didn't lose everything. But she feels like she did lose everything. And I think she has some amount of pity on Alicia for that.
Yeah. Also, through the course of Act 3 and moving forward, she does improve as a paintress. I mean, she starts to gain more and more
good.
power.
Yes, absolutely.
So while maybe in the past she wasn't a great paintress, she's becoming one.
Oh yeah.
Here,
like through boot camp, or like in the mire, so to speak.
Okay, you painters, you just do what you want. Mm-hmm. You don't care how it affects the rest of us.
Yeah, the word is gods. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it should be you
Greek
gods.
Gods. Yeah.
Miles says, I do care. I know you're hurting, but the person who made that decision wasn't me. It was her. She's so in denial. I would have been wrong to deny her just so you could try and talk her out of her decision.
See, Mael thinks she knows something
so
that Verso
hypocritical.
is saying you don't know.
It's so hypocritical.
Yeah.
She's the last of my family. I have no one left now. You have me. That was the real reason she did it.
You're right.
You have us. Mael, I wasn't ready. I don't understand. You were ready when you set Papa free, when you gamaged everything before.
Yeah.
You expected that he would erase the canvas and everyone in it. Isn't this the same thing? It's different, he says. It's different. Why did she do that? You know why. But you're right. I should have thought of you. I should have given you a chance to say goodbye. I'm truly sorry, Verso. And he says, at least she's free now. But this, oh my gosh, I can't believe
this is the moment. You're right.
They did not make that a mandatory section of the story. Keith, what were your thoughts on this part?
Yeah, I basically agree with everything that you said. I don't know if she was Mael was consciously aware that she was motivated in that way.
Well,
but I think
we often
it's
aren't.
Clear that she is. And then I have a follow-up question that might back up your Verso getting angry with these capricious gods idea, which is, was it Aline that painted Alicia? Yes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Notice that she painted her burned.
Yes.
She didn't have to.
Oh, she didn't.
Right. So I think that also might be that Aline is, blaming, Alicia for what happened to Verso, and even in this world kind of punishes her.
Yep.
And that might be yet another reason why Verso is like, you already punished her that way, and now you do this. Like, it's just like too much insult onto itself,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
exactly.
crazy. That's true.
Yeah.
And people have brought this up in the comments before as well, that the fact that Alina left the paintings on her, or the scars and the loss of voice and all that, when it could easily have been fixed, shows that she's kind of trying to pull Alicia into hell. She's trying to create a hell for Alicia to permanently have to live through.
Yep.
So
exactly. Spot on everything you guys are saying. Great stuff. Okay, so that's the Reacher. I think the next one we should touch on is Flying Manor, because this dives into Painted Clea a little bit. So we get more kind of dynamics of the painted family versus the painter family, right?
okay.
So as you enter here, Verso says this is where she lived, and he's talking about Clea.
Yeah.
So you see the young boy here, the faded boy. Now this is as Keith was sort of touching on a little earlier, this is sort of the remnant of painter Verso's essence that remains in this painting.
Yeah, it's almost like the body is a statue, but the the essence, or maybe there is still like a trace amount of chroma left in the body or something that can still kind of convey a thought or an idea.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
So it's like, again, the full nature of this is not completely explained.
No.
And it does complicate things that you have faded versions of the whole family in here. But this is my reading on it, and I'll see if you guys agree.
Why doesn't she set them free?
Well, every one of them has spent lots of time in this world and has put a piece of themselves into its creation in one form or another.
Right, via the painting metaphor, right?
Yes.
That a painter kind of puts themselves into their craft.
So I think this stands as a metaphor for creative people.
Yeah.
When they really put so much of their energy into a creation, whether it's music, whether it's a book you're writing, whether it's a film you worked on, whatever it might be, an actual painting, you put a piece of yourself into that creation.
Yeah,
I feel like Tolkien captures this really well in the Silmarillion when he talks about the Valar and which is the Vala who creates the original trees that served as the light source of the world.
Remember.
It's Yavanna or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
Anyway, in the Silmarillion, when Morgoth comes with Ungoliant and they take the light, devour the light from the trees, and everything goes dark.
Right.
The first question everyone asks is, why doesn't Yavanna just create the trees again? And she says something to the effect of, I cannot do that again. I cannot replicate that work. That took so much out of me to make that there's a piece of me that is literally gone that I can't, it was in there.
Right.
The piece of me that was able to conceive of and have the energy and passion to make that went into that thing.
Yeah.
And now that it's destroyed, I can't get it back. This is why, because the Silmarils were made from that same light.
Yes,
and this is
capturing the light. Yeah.
This is why originally the Vala asked, can we please have those Silmarils back? Because if we extract that light, maybe she can restore the trees again.
Right.
And, of course,
Feanor
refuses.
Feanor's like, no, I'd rather murder everybody.
Right. I think there's a similar idea here, that these painters have put some piece of themselves, some essence of themselves into this work.
Yeah.
And that is manifest in the painting as these faded people.
That makes sense.
Right. So that's why you see faded versions of all of them in there. Clea and Verso spent time playing here together for years, creating things. Of course, Aline now has been in there for years and years, and now Renoir has been in there. There are remnants. They have toiled and fought and put so much of their energy and their passion into this world that there is like a piece of their soul that still remains there. So that's what I believe the faded boy is. It is that piece of Verso that still exists, the real, I don't want to say the real, the painter Verso, that remains in this painting, and the reason why Aline and Mael want to preserve it so badly. Because if you erase this, if you destroy this painting, the last piece of him that still exists will be gone.
Right.
And that is who that faded boy represents. Is that an interpretation you guys agree with?
Sounds good to me. It sounds good. Why isn't there a faded Mael? Did she not spend time with Verso in this painting?
Clea brings this up.
Right.
You didn't. You used to go into your room and read all the time. This is in the towers.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Don't. She says, don't get sentimental about this painting with me.
Right.
Because I spent way more time here with you.
Right.
I was here with Verso creating the freaking place.
That's right.
While you stayed in your room and read books all the time. Right.
Okay,
so Mael has only recently begun to spend a lot of time in here.
So were she to leave the painting at this point, a part of her
maybe
remain.
there would be.
Yeah, according to the theory.
Yeah.
Right.
Keith, what is your read on that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then add to it that at least it seems like in Verso's case, there is something about his essence that is load-bearing, at least for now, on the painting's existence. Yeah.
Yes. So, by destroying this canvas, the faded people who reside in there that represent those pieces of the painters would also die, and faded boy disappearing would mean Verso's gone for good. There's no part of him left anywhere.
Right. This
is the reason Mael and Aline fight so hard to keep it. Okay, so that's faded boy. Just wanted to bring that up real quick.
Okay, very nice.
So you encounter him here. He says, you're here. Luna says, what is this place? He says, it's her home here in this canvas. We used to play here a lot with the others. But now the one here, she's not her. She will never be. And she knows that. So he's, again, to cut through the fog of what they mean.
They're always so
these
cryptic.
vague terms.
Yeah.
He's talking about painted Clea.
Yeah.
So I'm going to replace her with painted Clea. It's painted Clea's home. Here in this canvas, we used to play a lot with the others. But now the one here, painted Clea, she is not painted Clea. This painted Clea, who you're about to encounter in this level, is not painted Clea. She's become something else. This is because of the actions of Painter Clea, by the way. Painter Clea came into the canvas and was freaking pissed that a facsimile of her existed in this world, and she did some cruel stuff to painted Clea. She never will be, and she knows that. Who are you talking about? Young boy, everything is always about her painting, her sculpting. Everything has to be perfect, but perfect I have never been, and perfect she is not, the one who is here now. Maybe it's better to forget all about this, but she's trapped here behind this door in her atelier, forever painting. There he might be talking about Painter Clea, but I could also see it be painted Clea as well. It could go either way, I think, with that one. How do we open the door behind you? The colors. Bring back the color to her paintings. She mocked Aline's creation, trapped by her own paintings. Her nevrons stole her colors. If you could find them and unpaint them, then maybe she will be free.
The word color means chroma, by the way.
Yes. So you have to go through the level and defeat 4 like boss nevrons, and that opens the door to where painted Clea now resides.
Yeah.
So you go do that, and then okay, so I'm just reading what the transcript says here. A threatening aura emanates from beyond the door. You attempt to open the door, you push harder, the door shifts ever so slightly, the sensation of danger is magnified. Beyond the door lies a threat unlike anything you've felt before. One last time, do you truly wish to open the door? So be it, the door opens, brace yourselves. So you go and find painted Clea back there. You have a big boss fight. Verso says, it can't be. Mael says, Verso. Verso says, Clea, you're alive? What happened to her? So even painted Verso was not aware that
Clea had been
painted Clea was still around.
Locked up.
He thought Painter Clea came in and killed her very cruelly and that she was gone.
Right.
So when he said before at Reacher, this is the last of my family, they're all gone now, he was not aware that there's some remnant of painted Clea still here.
Yeah. But here's the thing. When Mael says, I bet Clea hated Maman's portrait of her, so she painted over her, this harkens to the idea that, the paintings are not fully capturing the true essence of the original people.
At least Clea doesn't think so.
Yeah. Well, she would know better than anyone else. I think,
not only would she know better, she also has motivation not to believe that.
Oh, of course. She seems to not buy into it.
Let's say your mother has gone to live in a virtual reality world.
When you put it in these terms, it's so obvious what needs to be done,
Yeah. So your mother's living in a virtual reality world and has created a version of you in that world.
I would destroy it. I'd pull the plug. I'd hate it.
You'd hate it. Exactly. Yeah. That's Clea's feelings when she sees painted Clea.
Yeah.
So she doesn't just kill her, she paints over her.
Right.
In this really cruel way, right? That sort of results in this boss fight we end up having here. I bet Clea hated Maman's portrait of her, so she painted over her. Luna says, and now she paints nevrons? And Verso says, can you heal her? Can you change her back? He's asking Mael that. Miles says, I can't repaint her. Clea's the only one skilled enough to paint over someone else's creation.
See, and Clea is more skilled. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so Clea is a really talented paintress.
Yeah.
Skilled enough, apparently, to take someone else's painting and paint over it.
And have it still.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's how skilled she is.
That's crazy.
Verso says, I don't like this. Luna says, this is going to be a tough fight. So you go into the fight. How is she so strong? She's Clea's creation, says Maya. That's why she's so strong. Because she painted over her, right? Yeah. Made her into her own creation. Essentially made her into a Nevron. We just call it that.
Yeah.
Verso says, Clea, no, wait. Because she's attacking you. She's trying to find a way out. So she's trying to get out of this place that she's kind of trapped in. Verso says, I'm sorry. You go back and defeat her. Then you come back to the young boy again. Have you laid her to rest? Luna says she did that by herself. Young boy, thank you. That's what she wanted. And I think that's true because she didn't want to exist as this Nevron painted over version.
It may not have been true absent the horrible deformity, chimeric like thing monster that she'd turned into or that was forced upon her. But it's definitely what she wants now. Yeah.
Yes. So she doesn't want to be this thing anymore, right? She wouldn't have to make this painting suffer. Painting or not, she had feelings and a soul. That's what I think. I think this is what you were talking about earlier, Keith, where the boy was alluding to the fact that the painted beings are real people.
They have a soul, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And he says that's what I think, at least.
Yeah, that's what I think.
The writers of this game still could not
leave it vague.
Yeah, they still leave it vague.
But I know she thinks differently.
Yeah, Clea.
For me, everything in this canvas is as much alive as what is outside. Esquier, the Gestrels, the Grandis, even Aline's paintings, I welcome them all. Painting should be a celebration, just like music. Thank you for taking care of her. It may not be much, but would you accept a gift from me, a garment we had designed together? I can make only one who should have it. So you get like one costume that you give to one of the party members. But this is interesting because it kind of goes back to what Dude McGuy was saying as well. The painters themselves disagree on this question.
Right.
It seems painter Verso, the faded boy, the remnant of him that is still here, seems to think, or maybe it's the boy representation of him. So maybe Verso as a child believes everything here is just as real as what's outside.
Right.
Clea does not agree with that. Painter Clea does not agree with that. Which is what gave her the justification to chimerify the painted version of herself and turn her into this.
It's just a toy,
into this monster that creates other monsters and makes the world suffer.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
I think this is actually a crucial scene for the vacuously not there third option that I want to be in the game. Because, again, not to call head too much to the ending, but, I think there's an assumption that the essence of Verso wants to die.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that is clear at all from the conversations with the faded boy. It is clear that he's upset of what has become of the canvas.
Yes.
But sees so much promise for the joy that could be there.
Yes.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah, this is actually a really key thing. And he has some more dialogue in Lumiere getting towards the ending that like expounds on what you're talking about. That changed the way I viewed how I wanted to pick in the end.
Right.
Because maybe we'll elaborate on this more later, so maybe I'm being a dead horse a little bit. But when I first played the game, and I made the choice that I made, it was under a lot of different assumptions.
Yes, absolutely.
than I have now.
Well, we didn't play all of the Act 3 stuff.
Yes.
I at least I didn't. And we were missing. We had to finish the game really quickly.
Yes.
Because it was before it had launched. Yeah, there was a lot of important information that we were lacking and important discussions that had not yet been had.
Yes. So we were playing an advanced copy, an early review copy, and the embargo date was coming up.
Yeah.
I was able to do sections like the Reacher. I did that.
Okay.
And I did a couple of the other ones, like I can't remember what the ice area is called, but I did that one.
Oh.
Anyways, there was a few of these like optional Act 3 areas that I did in our review of the game, but there were a bunch of them that I did not. I did not do this flying manor level because it was way above my level. I would have had to do a lot more content to be ready to do that. So anyway, I finished the game under the assumption that they were just really advanced NPCs.
Yes.
I believed
Me too.
the first time I beat the game that the painted people were just really convincing programs or magically animated people that seemed very convincingly real, but actually weren't.
Right.
I no longer believe that, right? For all the reasons we've been talking about.
Or just even as a thought exercise, the game is just asking you to suspend your disbelief for a minute that these aren't 3D PS5 people.
Sure, yeah.
And is asking you, look, we did our best, but take the extra leap and just really think of these as real people.
Yeah.
And that's something we didn't take as seriously the first time, and did more so this second time.
Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah. I was just going to say, not to bring the specter of real world problems too much into this painted world, but this relates strongly to AI, right?
Oh, yes, it does.
Is it that inconceivable that we might create not only conscious beings, but beings that might be eventually more conscious than us?
And will that have been an ethical thing to do when we do it?
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is going to wrap up the two really, really big kind of main story Act 3 things. I think we're going to leave this episode off here and cover the rest of them in next episode and then get to the ending because those are shorter and they don't have quite as much to get
there's just
into.
a few punchy lines.
And so like they'll kind of fill in a few things here and there, but I think we've covered the parts that I wish were mandatory for sure.
Very good.
Before you get to the ending, for the reasons we just described. I had a totally wrong assumption or idea about the nature of the world and the painted people and why is Verso reversing his motivations.
Wait, did you just ask why Verso is why was he verse? Why did he reverse?
Yes, I did.
It's in the name. There's a hint.
But anyway, tune in next week. Or next time, I suppose, for the final. It's not the final episode. It's the discussion of the ending of the game.
Yes.
Then the final episode will be a
more
development history episode.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So look forward to that. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.